A 50-year-old woman is facing life behind bars after being found guilty of killing 3 of her relatives at a family lunch. Erin Patterson served beef Wellington laced with poisonous death cap mushrooms in the Australian state of Victoria.
On July 15th, 2023, Erin Patterson extended an invitation for lunch to several members of her estranged husband's family. The guest list included her ex-partner, Simon Patterson, the father of her 2 children, his elderly parents, Don and Gail Patterson, both aged 70, Gail's sister, 66-year-old Heather Wilkinson, and Heather's husband, Ian Wilkinson, a respected local pastor. The lunch was scheduled for Saturday, July 29th, at Erin's home in Leongatha, Victoria, Australia. According to Erin, the purpose of the gathering was to share some personal news, a recent cancer diagnosis she had received. However, the day before the lunch, Simon backed out. He reportedly told Erin he felt too uncomfortable attending due to lingering tensions between them. At the table, Erin served a homemade beef Wellington. She sat and ate with her guests, but with one small strange detail. Her portion was the only one placed on an orange plate. The others were served on standard dinnerware. Heather Wilkinson even made a light-hearted comment to her husband Ian. "Is Erin short of crockery?" A few hours after the meal, the 4 guests began to feel violently ill. Symptoms quickly escalated: nausea, vomiting, and severe diarrhea. By the next day, all 4 were admitted to the hospital. Their conditions rapidly worsened. Within days, Don, Gail, Heather, and Ian were placed on life support, suffering from multiple organ failure. Curiously, Erin, the host, showed no signs of illness at all. Erin claimed to be feeling sick too, but CCTV caught her walking through a service station, entering the toilet for a few seconds, before browsing the food on offer. Why was she the only one untouched by the meal that left others fighting for their lives?
Gail's never been anything but good and kind to me. And Ian and Heather, some of the best people I've ever met. They never did anything wrong. I'm devastated. I love them. And I can't believe that this has happened, and I'm so sorry.
How are you
I just can't believe it.
In the days following the lunch, Erin Patterson walked into Leongatha Hospital, where all 4 patients were already being treated for suspected mushroom poisoning. Dr. Chris Webster answered the hospital doorbell when she arrived. When Dr. Webster informed her that death cap mushrooms were the likely cause and asked where she'd gotten them, Erin replied simply, "Woolworths." Medical staff observed that Erin sat quietly in a chair, just meters away. Heather and Ian Wilkinson were lying in open hospital cubicles. The curtains hadn't been drawn. There were no barriers between them, but Erin never even glanced in their direction. According to Dr. Webster, she showed no expected normal human emotional response to the dire scene around her. He told her she needed urgent medical attention too, in case she had also ingested the lethal mushrooms, but within minutes Erin left the hospital, against medical advice. CCTV footage showed another doctor, Veronica Foote, attempting to stop her. Erin signed a discharge form and walked out. That same day, CCTV also showed staff at the hospital beginning to examine the leftovers of the beef Wellington. Dr. Webster tried to contact Erin several times after she left. When she didn't answer, he called police, hoping they could find her and bring her back for treatment.
This is Dr. Chris Webster calling from Leongatha Hospital. I have a concern regarding a patient that presented here earlier but has left the building and is potentially exposed to a fatal toxin from mushroom poisoning. And I've tried several times to get hold of her on her mobile phone.
What's her name?
So the last name is Patterson, Patterson.
First name?
Erin.
Mushroom poisoning, you said?
Yeah, so there were 5 people that ate a meal on Saturday, and 2 of them are in intensive care at Dandenong Hospital. 2 have just been transferred from Leongatha Hospital to Dandenong Hospital, and Erin presented this morning with symptoms of poisoning.
And what happened when she presented? She just got up and left?
No, there was time for the nurse to begin observations, and I was managing the other critically unwell patient, so I had a brief chat back to her about where the mushrooms were obtained, and while I was attending the other patients, the nurse informed me that she had discharged herself against medical advice. So she left at 10 past. She was only here for 5 minutes.
Okay. And just to clarify, you said there were 4 other people who ate the same meal, is that correct?
Yeah, so the meal was consumed by 5 people, and 4 of those people are now hospitalised, and Erin presented this morning.
I've got the police notified for 84 Gibson Street, Leongatha in Victoria. Would you like them to contact you with an outcome?
Yes, I'd be happy for them to contact me at any time on the mobile number. Okay, thank you very much for your help.
Thanks, all the best.
Okay, see ya. Bye.
But for 3 of Erin's guests, it was already too late. Tragically, Gail Patterson, her husband Donald, and Gail's sister Heather Wilkinson all died in the days following the meal. Ian Wilkinson, the local pastor, clung to life through weeks in an induced coma. Slowly, he began to recover, and on September 22nd, 2023, he was finally discharged from hospital. In the days after the fatal lunch, CCTV footage captured Erin Patterson at her local tip disposing of a food dehydrator. When police questioned her about the appliance, she initially denied ever owning one, but investigators soon found the user manual tucked away in a kitchen drawer. A receipt for the purchase was also later recovered. Eventually, Erin admitted to dumping the dehydrator the week after the lunch. Police retrieved it and sent it for forensic testing. What they found was damning. Erin's fingerprints were on the device, along with traces of death cap mushrooms. Leftovers from the beef Wellington were also tested. They were first tested by a mushroom expert, who said she couldn't actually see death cap mushrooms in the beef Wellington, but she did see field mushrooms. Prosecutors later explained that Erin dehydrated the death cap mushrooms and blitzed them up. A toxicologist then tested the leftovers, and their results confirmed the presence of death cap mushroom toxins. The death cap mushroom is the most lethal mushroom known to humans. Native to Europe and the British Isles, it has now spread to every continent except Antarctica. Its resemblance to harmless mushrooms often leads to tragic mistakes. With caps ranging in colour from greenish yellow to brown or white, they contain a deadly cocktail of toxins, amatoxins, phallotoxins, and virotoxins. Even a tiny amount can shut down the liver and kidneys. At one point, Erin changed her story. She told police and medical staff she had previously foraged for wild mushrooms and admitted using the dehydrator during meal preparation. She denied any intent to harm, claiming the poisonous mushrooms were included by accident and that she had lied because she panicked. During a police interview, detectives pressed her, saying, "We're trying to understand why you're not that ill." But Erin explained that she had eaten too much cake. Claiming to have a history of bulimia, she told investigators she had made herself vomit shortly after the meal. She claimed that she ate so much cake that she felt overfull, so she went to the toilet and brought it back up again. But police weren't convinced, and on November 2nd, 2023, nearly 4 months after the fatal lunch, Erin Patterson was formally arrested. She was charged with 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. While it was never disputed that Erin Patterson had prepared and served the mushroom-laced beef Wellington, the trial hinged on 2 crucial questions. Did she know the mushrooms were deadly, and did she intend for her guest to die? Her estranged husband, Simon Patterson, gave evidence during the 9-week trial. He spoke briefly about the state of their relationship in the months leading up to the lunch, describing it as increasingly strained. Simon also gave the jury a picture of who Erin Patterson had once been. She had held a variety of jobs: an accountant, an air traffic controller, and an animal welfare worker. That's where they met, back in the early 2000s. He described her as witty, funny, and very intelligent. Their friendship slowly turned romantic, and they married in 2007. Their first child arrived soon after. Though they separated in 2015, they had remained legally married. Erin was active in the community. She edited a local newsletter, helped out at Simon's church, and joined several true crime Facebook groups. She was also financially well off. Erin had supposedly inherited large sums from her mother and grandmother, and owned multiple properties, including the Leongatha home. The jury heard that she had loaned over $1 million Australian to family members, often with no fixed repayment terms. In early 2023, she was accepted into a Bachelor of Nursing and Midwifery, but had deferred the course. Ian Wilkinson, the only survivor of the lunch, also testified. He said that Erin had served 5 individual beef Wellingtons, her own on an orange plate, whilst the others were on grey plates, and his wife had commented on this. Lead prosecutor Nanette Rogers outlined a methodical, calculated plan. She told the court that Erin had foraged for death cap mushrooms, dried them in a food dehydrator, and used kitchen scales to carefully measure portions into each individual Wellington, except her own. The jury heard that Erin had told her guests their lunch was to share a personal cancer diagnosis, a lie she later admitted under oath. Lead prosecutor Nanette Rogers said Erin had lied about having a cancer diagnosis in a bid to lure her guest to the fatal lunch. Lead prosecutor Nanette Rogers argued that Erin never intended to be questioned about the cancer claim because she never expected her guest to survive. She said her lie would die with them. In the days that followed the lunch, Erin had tried to cover her tracks, dumping the food dehydrator and lying repeatedly to police and doctors. They even claimed that she reset her phone in order to get rid of photos of the mushrooms and the dehydrator, and that she at first gave police a fake backup phone. Erin claimed that the mushrooms had been purchased, dried from an Asian grocery store in Melbourne, but she couldn't name the suburb, the brand, or provide any receipt. Later, when confronted with photos of mushrooms being weighed on kitchen scales, she admitted she had lied about foraging, claiming she had been scared. In fact, internet usage proved that Erin had often foraged, and that she had specifically used a science website to find the deadly mushrooms. 2 users on the website had told her towns nearby she could find them, and her phone records then suggested she had been at both these locations prior to the killings. She also tried to explain why she alone had not fallen ill. Erin said she had eaten too much cake that day, and due to a past struggle with bulimia, she had vomited after the meal, possibly before the toxins could affect her. But for Dr. Chris Webster, the physician who treated both Erin and the other guests, her behaviour had raised red flags from the start. He told the jury that when he asked Erin where she had sourced the mushrooms, she responded flatly, "Woolworths." It was that moment he said he knew she was involved. He said, when she didn't respond in a way that instantly would have explained it as a tragic accident, that's it. From that moment in my mind she was guilty. She was evil and very smart to have planned it all and carried it out, but didn't quite dot every I and cross every T.
From that moment in my mind, she was guilty, she was evil, and very smart to have planned it all and carried it out. She chose not to take the path of redemption. She chose death.
He described Erin's demeanour at the hospital as cold and detached. She didn't look at Ian or Heather Wilkinson, who lay just meters away, critically ill behind open curtains. He said,
"It was visceral. I felt the intensity of the hostility and the negativity towards me through her glare."
He said she lacked any sort of expected normal human emotional response to being in that situation. He said, "When people come through the doors that I led Erin through, they usually make a beeline for their loved one. They go straight to that bed and they embrace the loved one. They usually cry or shake or respond in an emotive way, and then they spin around and they try to find a nurse or a doctor to come over and explain what's going on to their loved one." He explained how Erin left the hospital within minutes, against medical advice, and ignored multiple calls from Dr. Webster. He went on to tell the jury that he also held concerns for Erin's children after she had told him they had eaten beef Wellington leftovers. He said, "Erin was reluctant to inform the children, and I said it was important, and she was concerned they were going to be frightened, and I said they can be scared and alive, or dead." Erin Patterson never denied that death cap mushrooms were in the meal. She also admitted to lying to her guests, to police, and to medical staff, but but her defense argued one thing clearly: it was all a terrible accident. Erin Patterson, now 50, told the court she loved her in-laws and had no reason to harm them. She said she had invited Don, Gail, Heather and Ian over because she wanted to rebuild relationships to bring the family together. Her defense barrister, Colin Mandy, told the jury that Erin had panicked when her guests fell ill. The lies she told afterward, he said, were not part of a calculated murder plot, but rather the desperate actions of someone afraid of being blamed for a tragedy she didn't mean to cause. Over the course of 8 days in the witness box, as the only defense witness, Erin maintained that the deaths were unintentional. She said she had lied about having cancer not to deceive her guests, but to cover up plans for weight loss surgery, something she was too embarrassed to admit at the time. As for the mushrooms, Erin told the court that she had added them to the beef Wellington from a container in her pantry, a mix that in hindsight may have included both store-bought and foraged mushrooms. She insisted she had never knowingly used death caps. She also claimed that all 6 individual beef Wellingtons she made were the same, and that she did not intentionally put death cap mushrooms in the dish. Her explanation for avoiding the poisoning was bulimia. Erin told the court she had struggled with the eating disorder for years. After the meal, she said she felt uncomfortably full and made herself vomit, possibly before the toxins could fully take effect. As for the dehydrator and her foraging hobby, Erin said she lied out of fear. She was afraid that by admitting she'd picked wild mushrooms, she'd automatically be seen as responsible, even if it was unintentional. In the end, the jury was left to decide between 2 very different versions of Erin Patterson, a grieving woman who made a tragic mistake, or a manipulative killer who thought she could get away with murder. On Monday, July 7th, 2025, the jury returned its decision after 6 days of deliberation and a 9-week trial that saw more than 50 witnesses take the stand. A 12-member jury at the Supreme Court in Victoria delivered its verdict. Erin Patterson was found guilty of 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. The court ruled that Patterson had deliberately prepared and served a meal laced with poisonous death cap mushrooms, killing her mother-in-law Gail Patterson, father-in-law Donald Patterson, and Gail's sister Heather Wilkinson, and attempting to kill Heather's husband, Ian Wilkinson, who survived after weeks in a coma. As the verdicts were read aloud, Erin sat still, showing no emotion, only blinking rapidly. She now faces a maximum sentence of life imprisonment, but her sentencing date is yet to be confirmed. Once it's handed down, I'll be sure to pin it in the comments below. As for the motive, even with a guilty verdict, one major question remains: why? During the trial, the prosecution hinted at a potential motive. They revealed that Erin's relationship with her in-laws, Don and Gail Patterson, was not as harmonious as it appeared. While she was friendly to them in person, they claimed she often complained about them in private, describing them as a lost cause and saying she was over them.
The jury was shown one exchange where Gail Patterson wished her daughter-in-law a happy Mother's Day, to which Erin replied, "Thanks, Gail. Happy Mother's Day to the best mum-in-law anyone could ask for." In another exchange that year, Erin thanked her father-in-law, Don Patterson, for tutoring her son in algebra. He said it was great and that "you're really good at explaining maths, Papa."
The prosecution suggested that this underlying tension stemmed in part from ongoing issues surrounding child support payments with Simon. Erin had reportedly wanted Don and Gail to step in as mediators, but they were uncomfortable taking on that role. Despite this theory, Crown Prosecutor Nanette Rogers addressed the clear lack of motive head-on, saying, "You might be wondering, what is the motive? You might still be wondering this at the end of this trial." But Rogers argued that a motive wasn't necessary. She urged the jury to focus on the actions, not the why, the planning, the lies, the selective servings, the cover-up. She said, "You do not have to be satisfied what the motive was, or even that there was one. What mattered," she argued, "was that this was not an accident, and the evidence spoke for itself." The defense disagreed, insisting the lack of motive was central. Why would Erin kill people she claimed to love? But in the end, the jury made up its mind. Erin Patterson was found guilty. I'd love to know what you think about this case. Was it cold, calculated murder, or a truly terrible accident? But at the end of the day, we have to remember that 3 people lost their lives and 1 barely survived. All 3 victims should still be here today, and my heart, as always, goes out to their families and loved ones. Rest in peace, Don Patterson, Gail Patterson, and Heather Wilkinson.